Why can't I do this? Anyone? Good morning! Hey guys, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Ravelry, on Instagram, where I'm most active when it comes to social media, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the making, all the sewing, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down this week. And if you're into that type of thing and you're new to the channel, feel free to like and subscribe below. I publish a video, a new one every Friday, and yeah, it'll be just really awesome to have you along for the ride. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Yeah, so I think this week is going to be a little bit of a short episode just because I only have like one knitting project to share with you, but a tale of slight woe to share with you as well. But first, just a couple of administrati notes before I get into what I've been making this week. Vogue Knitting Live is happening this weekend here in New York City, and I could not be more excited. I will be going Saturday, so if you see me bumming around with some friends, just please feel free to come up and say hello. It would be so lovely to meet you. For now, I think I'm just going to go on Saturday. I haven't decided. I think Sunday I'm going to sit that one out, but there may be a chance I might pop in Friday evening with some friends. So nothing is set in stone, but Saturday I will definitely be attending, so I hope to see you guys there. And the other announcement that I have is that I may or may not be putting out a podcast next week. I haven't decided yet. I would like to, but next week is my birthday, so I've scheduled some time off for myself to just kind of make all the things again. I know I just had like a week and a half vacation for the holidays, but it's my birthday, what you gonna do? So, yeah, no promises, but I will try. But I do have some fun stuff planned for my birthday. One of those things, I don't know if should I talk about it in Blather or now? I'll talk about it now because I'm pretty freaking excited about it. I was watching the Yarn Pimp podcast with Karen Posniak. She owns Do You Knit, a really awesome yarn shop in Westfield. No, it used to be in Westfield, New Jersey. Now it's in I'm blanking, but Fanville. I think it's Fanville. I'll pop it in the down bar. But anyway, I was watching her podcast and she is co-hosting it with Alana, and they mentioned that Stephen West was going to be teaching a class there on the 29th and the 30th, and I don't know, sitting, watching podcasts like you do, knitting, I just got all excited. I'm like, wait, that's the day before my birthday, the 30th. So, I shot Karen a message and I was like, hey, are there any spots available in that class? Because it sounds like a lot of fun. And, I've actually never taken a knitting class or any kind of class before related to the fiber art, so this is a first for me, but it's like the first time I heard a description of the class where I'm just like, yes, I want to do that. So yeah, I will be going to Do You Knit on the 30th for the Stephen West class. He's going to be teaching a class on shawl design using scrap yarn, and Lord already knows I've got boxes full of scrap yarn. So it just sounded like a really fun opportunity. So, I jumped on it, and yeah, I'm super excited. So if you are going, yeah, it'll be great to see you there. I can't wait. So anyway, I think that is it for administrati notes. I am going to get into what I've been making this week, but first, just a quick word from my awesome sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. As you probably know, I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down, which is why I'm all about binge watching classes on Skillshare. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare, and they are offering you, my viewers, 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click the link in the description box below and enter the code at checkout. Enjoy, and thanks Skillshare. All right, no finished objects this week, but I do have a finished object of yore that I am currently wearing, and it is a slight tale of woe. I don't know if you can tell, but this is the Chuck sweater, Chuck pullover by Andy Satterlund, knit out of some really special yarn that I purchased from my first trip to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I went into John Lewis, and they have a really wonderful yarn section up there, so I stocked up on a sweater quantities worth of, oh goodness, what is it? I have one skein of it left, and it's, what is it? I believe it's Erica Knight for John Lewis, and it's in this really beautiful jewel-toned, like, rich plum color. And I decided to knit the Chuck pullover by Andy Satterlund, and I will stand up so you can see. The body fits like a glove. I mean, the body is really nice. It's cropped and, you know, what have you, but over here it gets a little saggy, and I did swatch for it. But I think if you look closely, you can see where the conundrum lies in the sleeves. And this has been a bee in my bonnet ever since I finished knitting it. And I've just decided, and please, I don't want any comments below trying to help me to fix it, because I've made my decision. And this is going to probably be a very unpopular opinion, but I'm going to frog it. I'm going to frog this sweater because, one, yeah, I know I could rip back the sleeves and do some adjustments and whatnot, but honestly, I really don't, it's not really my style. I'll be totally honest. The sweater doesn't really suit my personality, and I'm just not feeling it, and I want to save the yarn and make it into something that I will be wearing a lot more frequently. So I'm calling it, and I'm gonna frog it and repurpose the yarn. So I think I'm going to be doing a little vlog on that, just so you can see my process of how I unravel a sweater, soak it, and re-skein it for use for another project. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. I will, the silver lining to this though is that it did not take me that long to knit. It is Aran weight yarn, so I think I knit this up in about 2 weeks. It was a no-brainer. Yeah, it was, you know, I was really excited to have it off the needles and really excited to wear it. But at the end of the day, I just don't get much wear out of it. And yeah, mainly because of the sleeves. It gives me like this poofy princess, like, I wore it to Vogue Knitting Live last year, and just the whole time I was so like self-conscious about these sleeves and trying to make sure that it was, you know, not looking too poofy. But at the end of the day, it just does not fit my person the way I would like it to, and just the overall vibe of the pattern itself. I'm part of the itty bitty titty committee as it is, so I just feel like my whole upper torso doesn't fill out the pattern as it's intended to be filled out, if that makes any sense. So, but otherwise, no complaints about the pattern. Well, I'm trying to think if there were any qualms I had about the pattern. I think just no, there weren't any qualms about the pattern. It was very straightforward from what I remember, and, you know, just a really enjoyable knit, but I'm just not happy with it. So it's gonna get frogged. And yeah, so I'm just giving it one last little hurrah on the podcast. And yeah, I guess you will witness me frogging my Chuck sweater. Yeah. All right, slight costume change just because that was getting a little toasty, and yeah, so I switched out for a cardigan that I made as well. So this is my Lark Tee cardigan, a pattern by Grainline Studio. This has been getting so much wear, you guys. It's kind of has like one of those cascading open front, like yoga cardigan type looks to it, and I just love this thing so much. It's just like a lightweight cardigan that I chuck on around the house, even to go out. Yeah, so it's been getting a lot of wear, and yeah, I dressed up again for the podcast just because I really like, you know, it's a rainy, gloomy day, and I was just like, you know what, let's get fancy today. So that's what I did. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm in rare form today, guys. I've been properly caffeinated, and I am ready to go. So let's get into what I've been knitting this week. Here's a new project bag that I sewed for myself. This is so the pattern is a Japanese knot bag by IndigoBirdDesign on Etsy, and I'll pop a link to it in the description box below in case you want to make one of your own. The pattern I think was like $4 US, so really good price point, and she has a lot of other cute patterns available in her Etsy shop as well. So a couple of those are, you know, on my to make list. But yeah, I just thought this was like a really simple, easy, quickie little project to whip up. I think I made it in under an hour, less than that actually, maybe less than 45 minutes. So yeah, they make really, really cute, you know, quick projects and gifts, I guess. So yeah, living inside here is my Tegna sweater, and this, guys, is flying off my needles. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have it done for Vogue Knitting Live, just because that would be crazy. I'm not that fast of a knitter, but this is going pretty quickly. So I finished the body. Here's what the bottom of the sweater looks like. Yeah, so it's really beautiful. And then I just separated the back and the front. So now I'm just working my way across, back and forth across the back, and then I get to pick up the stitches in the front and continue knitting on, and then you have sleeves. So I just finished knitting with the first skein of yarn. So the yarn that I'm using is Viola, and this is her sock base yarn and her mohair silk base. And I'm knitting the sweater holding these two yarns together, and it's just creating this really, really beautiful halo effect. I don't know if you can see that, and I am actually not alternating skeins, and I can tell like a slight difference, but it's not that noticeable. I feel like her dye lots are pretty consistent, so you can see like right up here is where about I switched skeins, but honestly it's not that noticeable at all, so not too concerned about that. But yeah, otherwise I am using a US size 6, US size 6 4mm needle. I went up 3 whole needle sizes from what the pattern suggested to get gauge, and yeah, it's just gonna be a really pretty cropped, oversized sweater that I wear, you know, over a dress or something. I don't know, but yeah, I love this color so much. It's gonna go with quite a bit of stuff in my wardrobe, which I am very, very happy about. So yeah, and the size that I'm knitting is the small, so second to smallest. So there's extra small, and then there's the small size, I believe. So hopefully, if all goes to plan, it should fit me great. Anyway, yeah, that is where I am with my Tegna, and that is seriously all I've been knitting on this past week. I did have a new cast on, but it's nothing much to write home about, and I'm not entirely sure I'm going to continue knitting it just because I'm not really feeling it. So I don't know. I'm not ready to talk about it on the podcast just yet, but maybe that's something for next week. But moving along, let's talk sewing, because I have some sewing to share with you guys. I did some sewing over the weekend, and I'm not gonna lie, ever since my vacation that I took over the holidays, I took about a week and a half just to make all the things. I didn't do any work. I just did nothing but sew and knit, and it was absolutely wonderful. I didn't even leave the house except to forage for food. So, and you know, yeah, I don't think I left the house, which was completely fine with me. But yeah, I have been in a little bit of a slump, and I want to start making things that are practical to wear every day, things that are going to be wardrobe staples, stuff that I'm going to want to, you know, yeah, essentially wear every single day. And I have a knack for, or a tendency to want to make pretty dresses. I love sewing dresses. I love wearing dresses, but again, they're just not the most practical, and I end up making things that I just don't reach for on a daily basis. And I really want to start paying attention to that and being more mindful of the patterns that I choose. And I actually went through my wardrobe and did kind of like a KonMari thing where I just pulled, if you're not familiar with the KonMari method, it's this based on a book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, a book that I really enjoyed, and I gleaned a lot from it. However, there were things that I didn't really agree with, but there were definitely things that I did agree with, which I took on. And I've been incredibly ruthless when it comes to just decluttering, going through my wardrobe, pulling out things that I haven't worn in years, and just parting with them because they either don't look right on me, I haven't worn them in years, and they just, yeah. So, you know, I've just been really ruthless with that, and I pulled everything out, put stuff into a donation bag, and laid out all the garments that I generally wear on a regular basis, and tried to find commonalities between them, like why I wear them every day, and you know, the shape and the colors and the style, and you know, just taking inventory on that, and applying that to the sewing patterns that I choose. And I realized I really wanted a pretty basic black skirt that would pretty much go with everything. So I went fabric stash diving, and pulled out some fabric that I thought would make a really great skirt. And here's what I came up with. So I made a basic skirt, and yeah, you're probably thinking, well, Kristen, this is pretty fancy. This is something that I would wear every day. And if you're wondering what pattern I used, I actually improvised this. So I went onto Pinterest, as you do, and I just did a basic search for, you know, chiffon skirt sewing pattern, and a link to Blueprint came up. So Blueprint is the new Craftsy, I think, or they took over Craftsy. And anyway, so I don't subscribe to them or anything, but they do have a bank of free sewing patterns and templates, and this one came up for, but it's a template for a basic circle skirt, just very simple construction and everything, and I used that for the lining of this skirt. And I'm not going to try it on now because it's not complete. It's not 100% done. I will get to that in a minute, but it's just a one-page template that you can lay on top of folded fabric and cut out your waistband. So if you look right here, and again, this is a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away, but you choose your waist size and you fold your fabric as the directions, as a tutorial explains, and then you basically just cut out your waistband, and then you measure how long you want your skirt to be, and you cut that out as well. This is a guide. You pretty much have to draft the pattern on your own. So if you are new to drafting patterns or sewing, this is a great starting point. And again, like, the pattern is by thelittleststudio.com, circle skirt template. And you basically print it out, and of course I will link to it in the show notes if you are curious and want to make your own. So I had some fabric in my stash for the lining. This is actually leftover fabric from my wedding dress. My wonderful sewing friend Amy, she actually offered to sew my wedding dress, and I'll try and pop a photo of it here because I know I'm going to get questions about that. And it was literally like the wedding dress of my dreams. It was just so awesome. And anyway, so we had quite a bit of fabric left over, and she gave it to me. She's like, here, I know you're getting into sewing, and here's some fabric that was left over from the dress. If you want to play around with it, it's yours. So yeah, I used that as the lining, and this is just a basic circle skirt that I made using the template that I just showed you. And then on top of it, all this is a wide rectangle of chiffon. So I didn't do the circle skirt cutout. I just cut out a rectangle of chiffon, and I used a rotary cutter to get a smooth edge on either side. And I just gathered it, and then after I made the gathers, I basted it to the circle skirt waistband, and then I just basically created a waistband template. So I just used some interfacing and some black broadcloth cotton, I think, in my stash, and yeah, just put it all together. And then I made an invisible zipper in the back. Let me see if you can see. So yeah, I just did a simple invisible zipper in the back. And then one thing that I'm really pleased about, that I'm kind of proud of myself, I did some French seaming, or I made a French seam in the back to kind of conceal the raw edges of the chiffon. So I don't know how well you're gonna see that, but yeah, just kind of like encases the raw edges. So kind of fancy schmancy. And another thing that I'm really proud of is I whip stitched by hand the the waistband full to the lining of the skirt. So yeah, and it's basically, yeah, it just goes over like that. I was hoping to have this done by Vogue Knitting Live with also the intention of having my Tegna finished so I could wear it over it, and yeah, it's just, but honestly it's not gonna happen, so it might just be done for Edinburgh. But yeah, so I'm so proud of myself. And it has like this, because of the satin, it has like this really nice kind of iridescent sheen underneath the chiffon, so it's really cool. Anyway, so proud of myself. But yeah, the one thing that is left to do is to hem the chiffon, which I was having trouble with because I did search online. I do have a narrow rolled hem foot for my machine, but I have not had any luck with that. I keep messing up with that, so I'm still practicing. And then I researched online for a serge rolled hem. So you can use your serger to hem the edge of your chiffon, which works in hindsight, but for some reason I still have to like play around. So you can see I did get a rolled hem started on this, but then at some point it just, my serger, the tension was just not where it should have been, and it went all wonky, and the threads just broke. And I basically, after like 5 tries of rethreading my serger, which if you are familiar with threading a serger, I was like banging my head on the machine. I'm like, I can't. And I called it and I stopped. And of course I called Emily, or when she came over on Monday, I showed her and I said, you know, how else am I supposed to hem chiffon? And she's, you know, she goes, you're not gonna like this, but you know, you have to do it by hand. And I, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this part off and then just cut off some more length on it and basically make a single stitch, fold it over, and then fold it over again, and then hand stitch it as I go. So it's gonna take me a little bit, but you know, it's going to be a skirt that has been made with love, sweat, and tears, and I'm very, very excited to add it to my wardrobe. So that was a long story about a little skirt. But moving along, I guess I will share the progress. I'll share more progress on this next week. Hopefully I'll have some work done on it. Hopefully it'll be done. You know, just pop on a podcast or watch a YouTube video and hem the end of the skirt. So moving along into non-practical sewing territories, because my birthday is coming up next week, Dennis and I are planning an evening out. I have no idea where we're going. I think he is going to surprise me, but you know, I suspect we are going somewhere fancy schmancy, and I would like a fancy schmancy dress to go along with it. Now this fabric has been burning a hole in my stash for, I want to say, 2 years maybe. And you're gonna see why. I'm just so, I'm really apprehensive to use it because it's mauve. It's mauve, guys. It's mauve jersey that I purchased from mood.com. I saw it and I started drooling all over my computer screen. Not literally, but you know, look at this. Look. I love it. I love it. I think this is 4 yards, 4 or 5 yards. I don't know. I just stocked up on it because I want a dress out of this. And ideally I wanted to make a wrap dress by Sew Over at London. And with the first version of the ultimate wrap dress that I made, which is a Sew Over It pattern, again, I was very new to sewing and I had a gaping back neckline. It was super gapy. And yeah, the front was fine, but the back was just not happening. And I sewed the smallest size and just, you know, it just wasn't happening. So I found a new pattern and a style that I actually like a lot better. It's from a online pattern company called WardrobeByMe, and you might have heard of them through Isabel from the Fluffy Fibers podcast. She sews a lot of their patterns, I believe. And they had a wrap dress that I really fell in love with called the Wanda wrap dress. So I will pop a photo of it here so you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to make a Wanda wrap dress out of this fabric this weekend. So really, really, really excited about that. And I probably would have made it this previous weekend, but I did not have any mauve thread to match with it. So I hopped on Amazon and picked up a spool of that, which I do not have with me. But it matches this fabric perfectly. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. So that's all I've been making this week. Again, a pretty short episode, but I am going to move along to the Blather segment, a segment where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around, other than all the things I've been making. But just a quick heads up about my shop update. I'm going to be having a shop update this Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm introducing international friendly updates again, just to mix things up and give people who generally have to set an alarm at 4 a.m. in the morning to catch an update, which, by the way, hi guys, I see you and completely appreciate you doing that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that and supporting my yarn dyeing business. It means the world. So, but yeah, I definitely want to give you guys a chance to purchase yarn at a more convenient hour. So instead of having an update this Friday at 5 p.m. as I usually do, I'm going to have one on Saturday morning here at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And yeah, if you want to find out what colorways and bases and other news surrounding Voolenvine yarns, all those details, you can do that by signing up for my newsletter over on voolenvineyarns.com. Just click on the newsletter link at the top and enter your email, and every week in your inbox you'll get an email from me. And no spam. And I am going to try and get those out earlier in the week, because I know some of you were saying, it's sending out the newsletter the day of the update isn't really helpful, and I can see that. So yeah, so I just have to revise my schedule around a little bit. Yeah, and anyway, so that is all I have to say about that. I hope you guys can make the update. Thank you in advance. And yes, I am going to move along to life story stuff. I don't know, life story stuff. Anyway, the Blather segment, as I lovingly call it, where I just chat about life in general. So yeah, what's been happening? If you follow the podcast, you might know that I am kind of obsessed with the Happier podcast hosted by Gretchen Rubin and her sister Elizabeth Kraft. And Helen Stewart, who is the host of the Curious Handmade podcast. She also is the designer behind Curious Handmade knitting patterns, and I follow her podcast, and she's also a big fan of the podcast as well. And last year she did one of their try this at home things, was like an 18 for 2018, where you make a list of things that you want to do, that you want to get done in the current year, and things that can make you happier, things that you think will enrich your life, and type of thing. So I was really inspired to do that this year. So since the Happier podcast was doing the 19 for 2019. So I know Emily was doing it, and then I listened to Helen's podcast and she was doing it. So, twist my arm. I wrote a list. And in case you are curious, I will run down the list really quickly just to give you an idea of like where my head's at and what I plan to do in the current year. So one of those is go to EYF again, the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So that's happening. Visit France. That's also happening. So after EYF, I'm flying there solo, and then I'm meeting up with Dennis in Paris, France, because I've always wanted to go, and this is the year we're finally doing it. So super, super excited. So yeah, that's happening. And then number 4, finish decorating the dye dungeon, which is my dye studio downstairs. I've been working out of there for over a year now, and I feel like it could still use a little love. Like there's nothing up on the walls really, and it could use a little more love, I think. So I kind of want to focus on organizing it, finding effective storage systems, and not that everything's in disarray, but other little things like, supplies and stuff could have a better place than where they currently are. And yeah, I definitely want to like get some stuff up on the walls. I want to get a plant. The plant that I had down there unfortunately died, so I have to find a replacement for it. I have the blackest thumb ever. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 4 is upgrade pots and burners for my dye dungeon. That is something that I have to look into, but yeah, I've been using the same burners for a while, and they're not the best. They kind of crap out. They're double burners that I purchased on Amazon. They do the job, but not well. So they work for a little bit, and then they just give out and break, and then I have to buy a new one. So I think I want to do some more research and invest in some quality burners that I don't have to keep replacing, which I think makes sense. So there's that. Then I want to schedule a monthly vacation. So I really enjoy taking the week and a half off that I did for the holidays, just to not work, not do anything, just giving myself some pure unadulterated making time to be creative and do whatever I want. I really did like that, and while I recognize I can't always take a week and a half off to do that, I do want to allot myself maybe like, you know, about 2 days at the end of every month, you know, to just not work and just focus on making, you know, just having the house to myself, quiet time, and, you know, just having that creative space to play, if that makes sense. So, and I'm doing that. I'm doing that at the end of this month. So yay! And yeah, the other thing that I want to start doing is meditation, which is totally out of left field for me because I've tried yoga, it's not for me, but as a person that gets very anxious and overwhelmed very easily, I definitely want to try giving I want to give meditation a go, you know, just even if it's for like 5 or 10 minutes a day, just to focus on my breathing between social media. And believe me, I love Instagram, I love social media, I love interacting with people, but too much of that, too much work and having a lot of things on my plate, it has a tendency to just kind of overwhelm me, and I'm sure you guys can relate. So I just have to find a way to deal with that. And I think meditation might be, you know, something good for me. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes. I do have the Headspace app. I do have a new one that I just downloaded called Simple Habit. So you know, I'm going to be looking into those. And I actually just downloaded an audiobook for guided meditation and everything. I am a huge, like, I remember taking acting classes in school, and they did these guided meditation activities where you just close your eyes and they would like walk you through like a scenario, and I just loved like something about that, like I just really liked. So yeah, I downloaded this book called Guided Meditation for Anxiety. It's like $5 on Audible, so I don't know, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, and keep you guys posted on that. Print this, I feel like this is perpetually on my to-do list, but print out photos from camera and iPhone on a regular basis. This has not happened yet. I'm gonna find a way to do it. I just have to, you know, yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't bring myself to do it, and I'm, you know, I probably have to schedule it. I have to schedule it, or find some as an obliger / rebel. It's like I have to find outer accountability. In that same vein, I need to put wedding photos into wedding albums. So I printed out the photos from our wedding, which happened 7 years ago. The photos are printed, they're in a box, and we have the album. It's just a matter of me scheduling time to sit down and put those photos in the album. Why can't I do this? Anyone? Learn to sew with sheer fabrics, which I'm currently doing. Learn to sew with velvet. And I was watching Hohi's journal, Hohi Locatelli, the knitwear designer. She was talking about sewing with velvet as well. She hasn't done it either. And, you know, I commented on her last podcast, and, you know, I don't know, kind of like saying that I have some similar fabric and I'm looking to dabble in sewing with velvet for the first time as well. So she responded like, you know, I was kind of hoping that you would do it first. So Hohi, if you are watching, I'll take one for the team. I'll give it a go. So I will probably dive into that very soon. So we shall see. The other thing I want to do is knit with handspun, and that is something that I was inspired to do from watching Grace, who is Venna Willemeel on Instagram, and she has the Babel's Traveling Yarn. I can never remember the name, but it's Babel's Traveling Yarns podcast. I will put it in the down bar. I'm sorry, Grace, but yeah, that's the gist of her podcast name. But yeah, aside from knitting, she's an incredible weaver, an incredible fiber spinner, and she knits a lot with her handspun, and she's currently knitting a sweater using her handspun, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I want to follow suit, so I'm putting it on the list. It's on the list. I just have to sit my butt down at the wheel, which I haven't been compelled to do because I just want to get to the knitting, if that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, I really want to knit with handspun at some point this year. The other thing is a little bit indulgent, a little bit of a luxury, but I am a sucker for getting massages. It is a treat for myself. So I want to start, yeah, I say monthly massages. Generally, I get them every 3 months. So, because they are not cheap, but they they are something that relaxes me, and that, you know, because my back is, you know, does get stressed out and tight, and I don't know, I like massages. So if I can make it happen once a month, then great, that would be wonderful. And then horseback riding. I would love to go horseback riding. I haven't gone since I was, I don't know, like when I was a teenager, or not even a teenager, like a preteen. My parents sent me to horseback riding camp. It's just something that yeah, I went for like a week or whatever, and you know, it's something that I've always enjoyed and wanted to do more of. But yeah, obviously living in the city, you don't really have the opportunity to do that. So I don't know. I would like to go horseback riding at some point. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, totally random, but there you go. Continue decluttering. I am perpetually trying to declutter our house. You know, I know yeah, just looking around my craft room, I can get rid of so much stuff. Yeah, and then I think I have room for 2 more, and I'm still trying to figure those out. So I will keep you posted on those. But yeah, for the most part, that's what I have on my 19 for 2019 list. So I hope you guys, you know, found that interesting, or, you know, got some ideas for yourself. And, you know, if you are doing this as well, you know, let me know in the comments below. I'd be curious to see what's, you know, hear about what's on your list as well. But yeah, there you have it. That's what's been happening in my life. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much again for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a fun, nitty weekend planned for yourself. And also, last week was the 300th episode of this podcast, which is super exciting. So thank you so much again for tuning in, whether you've been with me since the beginning, or just tuning in and just found my podcast. Thank you so much for, you know, being along for the ride, and the feedback that you gave me from having my friend Emily on the podcast. She had a really good time, and it seems like you guys really enjoyed the episode and getting to know Emily. So Emily, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast. And, you know, a lot of you requested to have her on again, and of course she's going to be on the podcast again. We were talking about, you know, maybe like doing once a month. Yeah, so we had a lot of fun making that video, and yeah, hopefully and I hope to have her on the podcast again soon. I'm gonna leave it there. Happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye! You want to say hello?